We're learning more about a former Vancouver police officer charged with a number of crimes, including dealing drugs while on duty. Peter Hodgson appeared in court today, and CTV's Lisa Rossington joins us now live from the courthouse. Lisa.
Well, it's not often you see a police officer being led into the prisoner's box. Well, former police officer, yesterday, Peter Hodgson was fired from the VPD. Today, he faced a judge charged with criminal offenses, including drug trafficking and intimidation.
He was a star basketball player before he became a police officer. Peter Hodgson joined the VPD in 2005 when he was handed his badge. Yesterday, it was taken away. Today, he was in the prisoner's box at Vancouver Provincial Court. The allegations against Hodgson include dealing marijuana while on shift patrolling the downtown east side.
Allegations aren't evidence. We can all remember a number of cases that started in a really sensational way and ended up with finding of not guilty.
Hodgson was arrested yesterday as he arrived for shift at the VPD headquarters. He was then fired. Hours later, Chief Jim Chu referred to his former constable as a rogue.
I can tell you that we assembled evidence that Hodgson was trafficking street-level amounts of marijuana both on and off duty.
Hodgson grew up in White Rock. He attended White Rock Christian Academy, where he was a star basketball player. He led the team to a single-A crown. He later played for the UBC Thunderbirds. That's Hodgson on the bench clapping. He was on the team that won the 2003 Canada West Championship. For the past 9 years, he's lived in South Surrey, raising a family. He has 3 young children. He and his wife operate a daycare from their home.
You don't see him that often because he's on shift, I guess.
So what did you think when you heard about this? The allegations of him dealing drugs?
Pretty shocked.
Neighbors were surprised to hear the cop next door is an alleged drug dealer.
The people was involved with drug, people coming in, going out, coming in, going out. He was not like that. He was busy with his family, 3 kids, not easy, you know.
When Hodgson applied to be a police officer 5 years ago, neighbors say they were called by the VPD.
That was the time you were applying for police officer as another police officer inquired about him. He came to me, talk with the neighborhood.
1 month before the investigation into Hodgson began, Crown alleges Hodgson went to this downtown Eastside hotel in January and broke into his suite. He is charged with extortion from that incident. Crown alleges on Christmas Eve he improperly accessed police records.
So, Lisa, what is the next step in the court process?
Well, Hodgson is still in custody. He will have a bail hearing next week. He's currently being held at Surrey Pretrial Centre. There is a second person on this file who was charged along with Hodgson. His name is Oscar Lapatan. He was charged with drug trafficking. He was granted bail today. Pamela.
All right, thank you, Lisa. News of Hodgson's arrest has spread quickly in the neighborhood where he is alleged to have committed his crimes. Sarah Galashan has been talking to people in the downtown east side where officers struggle to win the trust of residents. Sarah.
Pamela, it is a struggle down here and hard to say whether the way this case has been handled will help or hurt other law enforcers in this part of the city.
News that a now former officer faces charges of the sort so many here are familiar with spread quickly through Vancouver's downtown east side.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. It actually reconfirms, maybe there is some justice.
That reaction shared by many for whom this was a surprise.
There will be no discussion here today of discipline or suspension. I've taken the step of firing Hodgson as of today. He is no longer a member of the Vancouver Police Department.
That's a bit of a surprise, right? I mean, usually the police are much more protective around their officers.
Case in point, last January, when this man was beaten by Vancouver police in a case of mistaken identity, the officer involved got desk duty. Critics say Hodgson's public firing is a good first step towards improving their public image.
He's being made an example of, right? And it's good for there to be those type of examples out. We would just like to see examples being made of things that we think are harmful, rather than things that are relatively benign, like selling marijuana.
But what this does for the reputation of those left policing this beat is far from benign, says Al Arsenault, who retired from patrolling this part of downtown 4 years ago.
It's unfortunate there's a couple of bad apples, and every police department seems to ruin it, and we have to sort of regain their trust after every allegation comes out.
And regaining that reputation and trust, something that could take some time, depending on who you talk to. Pamela?
Thank you, Sarah.